tied up by Green. Throws it back up top. James puts up the three. Oh, it's good! LeBron James from downtown!
What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of 3 Guys with Mike. I'm Little Man, joined by William here. Before we get started into this video, we just want to send our condolences to my Uncle Rob, one of our biggest fans, who stuck with us from the beginning. Always DMing us, asking us how we were doing. Was thinking about making his own podcast. You know, they always say gone but never forgotten, and he's for sure never going to be forgotten when 3 Guys with Mike takes off in the future. So with that being said, moving on, NFL Week 8. A lot of this stuff that we said in our past video, we thought this week was going to be really good. And to me, it kind of looked like, I don't want to say it on camera, but a bleep show. Yeah. You know, the stuff that comes out of your butt. That type of show. It wasn't really all glory and glamour. It wasn't fun. I mean, I think the really only entertaining game that I got to watch was the Saints-Bucks, in my opinion. That was really the only thing. So I'm going to go ahead and lead off with this Cowboys and Vikings game. Okay. What did you see from that game? And from the man himself, Cooper Rush.
One thing that's weird is how familiar I am with the name Cooper Rush when he really played little in the NFL. It's kind of weird.
It is kind of weird.
Like after only seeing before this game, they only had 3 completions or 3 attempts.
This man hasn't thrown a pass before that game for 4 years.
Yeah, it's weird how much I've heard his name throughout these years. But one thing I saw, and it's not something that I like as an Eagles fan, but I saw the Cowboys win without their all-pro quarterback, without their leader there. I saw them win with their defense. I saw them win with their receivers making plays that were tipped on the last drive, making huge catches. Amari Cooper having 2 big plays in the last one.
Jesus.
That was a lucky play, but one thing that wasn't lucky was that final score at the end. You got to tip your hat to Cooper Rush, how well he played. And this defense, I didn't expect them to look this good. I didn't expect Kirk Cousins and this offense to look how they did after their performances the past few weeks. And I think the Cowboys are a top 2 team in the NFC at least. And I think you really have to look at them differently, or at least I am. I know a lot of people had them as that top team. But I'm looking at them, and I think this team is really scary. And this is the best team the Cowboys have had in the past 10 years, probably.
I'm pretty sure we can both agree that if this is anybody else, or if this is any other year for the Cowboys, they're not winning this game. Yeah. It's something about this team, their moral, their fight, their heart, their passion for the game. They get after it. The next guy always steps up big. Micah Parsons had a great game. He had 10 tackles, 10 solo tackles.
All over the field.
And 4 TFLs. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's cemented as the defensive rookie of the year. I mean, I don't think anybody else is near him. Trayvon Diggs, unfortunately, sprained his ankle. But I thought he played really well. I thought he kind of shadowed Jefferson and Thielen pretty good. But another thing is with Anthony Brown. I mean, he gave up so many big plays, and they missed Justin Jefferson on that wide open. I think it was a double move, right? So things have to get. He has to be put in his place. I think you have to give Kelvin Joseph his minutes moving forward. Get the young rookie some time, and hopefully Dak is back by next week. But I'm hearing reports that he's looking good to go. And maybe they make this stretch. Maybe they win 4 in a row, 3 in a row, because they got the Broncos, the Falcons, and then the Chiefs in Kansas City. And something tells me deep down that might be the Chiefs' get-right game. Knowing my luck, that'll be the game where they start making their push for a wild card spot. But overall, I like the way we played. I like the fight we had. It was an amazing win, especially because it was against one of our good friends, Jordan Johnson's team. It always feels good when you beat your friend's team, except for Willie. I'll give him an exception.
One thing that I thought was really interesting was that you didn't see a lot of rushing attempts from the Cowboys, which I really thought they were going to try to do to ease in Cooper Rush. I think they only had 76 yards on the ground, so I think that's really great, especially when it's a guy coming into a big game on a day like Halloween in a stadium in Minnesota with a hostile crowd. So yeah, it was just a great win for the Cowboys, and I'm excited to see what they do moving forward.
And not a lot of people are talking about the play that Zeke made. I thought that might have been the play of the game.
I was thinking that was the play of the game.
3rd and 11, a check down. I think he was 6 yards away. He broke 2 tackles.
I think it was more.
And then
might have been more.
And then he dragged another guy for another 5. And that, to me, was the play of the game.
Yeah.
So moving forward, we have the division matchup. A lot came out of this game. The Buccaneers and the Saints. As we all know, Jameis got hurt, unfortunately, tore his ACL. Yeah. And when he was in there, it looked like the offense was thriving. But then Trevor Siemian comes in, or Simeon, I don't know how to say his name. Yeah, and it just looks like the beat stops, you know.
Yeah.
But then the one thing that kept them from losing this game to handing it over to the Bucs was, like we said last week, the defense. The defense stepped up once again, made Tom Brady force 3 turnovers, and that costly pick 6 at the end. And something with the Saints, man. I mean, I don't know. It's like last year. It's going to come down to one game between these two teams.
Yeah.
That's going to decide the division. But moving forward, nonetheless, I think with the Saints being down Jameis Winston, where the offense flows so thoroughly, I think that might open some doors for Carolina.
Yeah.
They still have Stephon Gilmore coming back. You have Christian McCaffrey coming back possibly next week. I mean, they're sitting at, what, 4-4?
Yeah, and they have a big matchup with the Patriots.
A big matchup next week with the Patriots. I was showing some fight. I mean, we're gonna see where they're at, the Panthers and the Saints. It might come down to those two, who wants the second spot, wild card. I mean, we're gonna see. But what do you think about the Bucs? What do you see right now?
With the Bucs, I think you have to either if you got this one or if you didn't, you still have to feel good about your team. One being that on the scoreboard, Tom Brady still looked great. Mm-hmm. He had, I think, 375 passing yards. Yeah, 375 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, and again, he got sacked 3 times. And that's the way you beat Tom Brady. You get to him, you hit him hard, you get him moving off of his spot, because you know his strong suit isn't being moving around a lot. That's not his strong suit. And yet again, your team was still in it till the very end. And I was kind of worried when I saw them have those 2 drives in the third quarter. This offense, they kind of looked like they were going to click, and I was like, okay, this is where the Saints fall apart. This is where the Buccaneers come back, and it's history from then on. But I thought it was really impressive how the Saints they held their ground. The Saints defense still stepped up. They got to Tom Brady, and one thing that was also very eye-opening was that at the end, Bruce Arians was kind of seeming like he was going to pull Tom Brady just so he wouldn't get injured. But Tom Brady just waved him off and said no. He's staying on the field, which is kind of what you expect from Tom Brady. He's the GOAT in all aspects of the game. So I just think you still have to feel really good. But if you're the Saints, you feel even better. It's a bittersweet win. As we know, Jameis Winston tearing his ACL. That sucks because he's a locker room guy. He's one of the most fun players in the NFL. But I think it's there's gonna be a lot of questions to be answered. A lot of people are pointing at Cam Newton to get signed. I think they should stick with Trevor Siemian, and I think that he can maybe win you some games later on in the year. But yeah, and again, division matchup.
So division matchup, yeah. So moving forward to tonight's game as it's being recorded, the Chiefs and the Giants just got finished. Now I still don't see any positives coming out of Kansas City. This is a very ugly win, but I mean you can't blame them. They got it done. As you also see those memes of Andy Reid reading a menu instead of the offensive playbook. I mean that's what it looks like right now, if I'm being honest. And Travis Kelce, it just looked like he was off his game tonight. I mean the fumble, I really don't see him do that a lot. Kind of struggling to get open a little bit.
Yeah.
But the main point is Mahomes and Hill. That tandem is still there. That them themselves could lead this team to the playoffs.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But like we all talk about in the group chat, is that one guy on the Chiefs defense is the biggest liability I've ever seen on a football team. Is Daniel Sorensen. Is he? I don't even know if he's a linebacker.
He's one of those hybrid. He's one of those hybrid guys.
Guys that gives up a lot of plays.
Yeah, he can give up a lot of plays at linebacker, safety. You know, he does a lot of things.
He can do it anywhere.
But, yeah, at some point I feel like you just have to bench him. I feel like it's not fair.
It needs to happen.
If you're a guy who's behind him in the depth chart and you see him giving up a bunch of these plays, I don't think it could get much worse. I think for a series or two, you just put in his backup, put in whoever it is. I still don't know why he's seen the field for the entire game. But looking at this game, you said that there weren't a lot of positives, and I agree with you, there weren't a lot, but I think there were some. Derek Gore looked phenomenal. He looked great. And he's really someone that I had no idea about.
Don't tell me that's what's his name's son or relation to him at all.
It could be, I don't know. I mean, he's that age to have a son that old, but I'm just thinking that when you have all the defenses that the Chiefs are gonna play, they're gonna have their defensive backs backed up all the way. I think that allows you to run the ball, which I think the Chiefs should have been doing weeks ago. But I think that it's starting to click. It's starting to get better and better. But one thing about the Chiefs, as we mentioned, Travis Kelce, I think maybe it might have been the worst game I've seen him play. Not because of his stats, but because of how he looked. Because of how he was pouting, throwing up his hands. He looked out of it. And then once he did get his call, once he got his number called, he fumbled the ball. and it looked even worse. So yeah, I feel bad for him. I hope he gets it I hope he gets better. And Mahomes, I was saying, man, before we started recording, but Mahomes, for the first time watching Mahomes ever, I was actually scared that he was gonna make that mistake. I get that often when I watch Carson Wentz play. I'm like, when is the mistake gonna come? When is he gonna make a decision where I'm screaming at the TV, slide?
That's how I feel
I'm screaming,
Dak.
throw the ball away. Yeah, but Mahomes is finally in that state where it's like you're in position to win the game. Get out of your own head. Get out of leave your ego behind. Your team still needs you to make the right play and the simple play. And I feel like he's trying to get away from it, which is something that I never expected to see from Patrick Mahomes. But I think the running game has improved. I think the defense, they still don't look good, but they improved. You only allowed 17 points, so I think that's a win in itself. And I think that it's just a win that you needed. I didn't expect them to look this way, but I do agree with you. Tyreek Hill and Mahomes could will you to the playoffs by themselves.
And another plus on their defense, it's probably second in defensive rookie of the year voting, is that linebacker Nick Bolton.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's out of Missouri or something like that. He flies around the field every single game I watch the Chiefs, and he's probably the pinpoint, if not the honey badger, obviously. What do you think about his comments now that we're on it?
Those comments, I think it's just a bad look. I think at this point, the way your team is looking, the way your defense is looking especially, I think it's time to stay away from social media and stop interacting with your own fans. If it's someone else, go ahead, but you're calling out your own fans who have been with you. And again, the fans that you're calling out are the ones who haven't really been there for a long time. I don't think anyone who's been supporting the Chiefs for a long time is going to be making those comments like that.
No.
But I just think it was a bad look, and I just think that I think if they do it, obviously the fans aren't going to be commenting the stuff if the Chiefs are winning games. But I think, let's say a comment like that happens and they do it, and Tyrann Mathieu responds to it, I think it isn't that bad of a look. But just the way your defense has been looking lately, people are going to go off on it. It's going to make headlines.
Man, it never looks good when you're clapping back at the fans, the people with the heart and soul, really, of every organization. I'm pretty sure we can argue that. But moving on, we're going to go into two segments here, right? One of them is going to be who's in more trouble, the Chargers or the Browns.
Looking at it, I'm still going to go with the Browns. The reason for that, your division, I think your division is a lot tougher. The Chiefs just won a game. Excuse me, wrong division. The Bengals, even though they lost to the Jets, they still look really good. The Ravens, they're up and down in a few games, but they're still really good. And I think for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you just lost to them in a low-scoring bloodbath, pretty much. A lot of hard hits, a lot of flags being thrown. I think that you're kind of scrambling to find an answer. And again, I think Baker, he didn't have his worst game this game. I think he did make some plays that should have been caught. Jarvis Landry fumbling that ball, I think it was on third down or something like that. I think that's something that it just shouldn't be happening, and it's not on the quarterback himself. But I just think they're in more trouble. Again, you look at the injuries. A lot of injuries are hitting them hard. And I think that you might have the worst quarterback in that division. I like Baker. I like him as a person. I think he's funny to watch.
I think it's official. He might be.
But I think that you might... I mean, Big Ben is still... It's a toss between them. But you look at the Chargers, you still have Justin Herbert, who's a phenomenal talent in his second year. They're going through a rough patch. But again, the teams that they're losing to aren't necessarily bad. The Ravens, we know they're a powerhouse. The Patriots, probably the most well-coached team in the NFL. You have the best coach in the NFL, debatably. And he was going against Mac Jones, who wasn't making a lot of mistakes. So I think that the Chargers are still in really good hands. I think that they just hit that wall, kind of. You expected more from them out of this bye week, but I still going with the Browns, who's in more trouble.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. All these injuries is just piling on. I mean, Baker played with a torn, I think it was labrum or something like that. Something in his shoulder was torn. Yeah. And it made him even look worse. Even more worse than what he did.
But props to him for playing.
And Jack Conklin, he was out. And once he goes out, you know TJ Watt and those edge rushers are going to get to Baker, make it hell for him. But as we're talking about the Browns, I want to say this. I think it's time for OBJ to get traded.
1,000%.
His talent is being wasted. I mean, I don't know how you have that caliber type of player and he only gets one target. Against a Pittsburgh defense that has been very subpar to what they were last year, especially in the secondary.
Yeah.
I mean, Chargers, on the other hand, the teams they're losing to are, yes, they're very well coached. And Mac Jones, I will give him this, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And the Patriots, moving on to that, moving from that game, is to our next segment. Is who is more likely to make the playoffs, the Patriots or the Steelers?
The Steelers. I think the Steelers are finding ways to win ugly, which is really good, and it's a good thing. It's something that you want to look forward to with your team, having them win ugly, having games where you score on special teams, like in Week 1 against the Bills, and having a total of 15 points against the Browns this past week. I think it's something that's good and something to be said about that. And you're really well coached with Mike Tomlin, and as we know, he got heated at those comments about him going to USC. But when I look at it, I think the Patriots are still the better coached team. They're in the worst division. I think Mac Jones is playing phenomenal for what he is right now. And I don't think his ceiling is as high as these other young quarterbacks, but I think this is all you need from him. This is all you could ask for from him. And again, for the past 3 weeks, I said this 2 weeks ago in our video against them playing the Cowboys. I wanted to see Mac Jones air the ball out. And since then, his yards have been going way up. He's been looking great. And I just think this defense is one of the best defenses in the NFL, as it's been in the past 2-3 years. And I think that
decades.
Yeah, and I think that you just have the better chance, and I think that you just have the better team right now.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go ahead and say the Patriots. Like I've told you before, Mac Jones is not the best quarterback to come out that draft class. He was just drafted into the better position for him to succeed. Situation for him to succeed. And with the Steelers, they're dealing with some injuries too, but their division is still tough. I mean, the Bengals, the Ravens, the freaking Browns. I mean, the Browns can make a run like they did last year. We never know. But moving forward, I can see the Patriots easily in the playoffs, other than the Steelers. I mean, if the Steelers don't make it, they might move on from Ben. I'm pretty positive that they will, and just build from there in a rebuild situation. But with the Patriots, I think they see a lot in Mac Jones. They trust in Josh McDaniels to lead them up that road to being an elite quarterback one day, hopefully. And Bill Belichick sees a lot in him, and they have a lot of trust in him. So therefore, also the Patriots defense, like you said, is phenomenal. I mean, they fly around and make plays. Okay, so now that we're on the topic, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you this: who's your MVP right now?
MVP right now, I think two of the top MVP candidates right now are playing on the same team. I think you could look at Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. Right now, I'm gonna go with Matthew Stafford, just because, again, like I said, I think that award is more of a quarterback's award. And not me, but I'm saying the way that the voting works, I think everyone just votes quarterbacks and maybe running backs, and the receivers get overlooked. But I think both of them are just playing the best right now. But that's a good transition into what happened this morning. As you know, terrible news or great news, however you look at it. If you're
an NFC West fan of the Niners, Cardinals, or Seahawks, it's terrible.
Yeah,
it's absolutely terrible.
The trade for Von Miller, you get him with on the defense with Jalen Ramsey, Darius Williams, Aaron Donald. I think that's a scary thing to look at. Leonard Floyd. This defense was already scary when you think about it. They're already well coached. They were number 1 last year. And you have an offense that's elevating and getting into their mid-season form. And I think that when you look at this defense, in the NFL, a lot of people like to overreact to big names, right? I think it's more so in the NBA. But I think in the NFL, a lot of people like to overreact to big names being signed, right? Mm-hmm. But here, I think if you're an offensive line coach, an OC in the NFL, you look at this defense, no matter Von Miller's stats, no matter how many sacks he has, which is 4.5, which still isn't bad by any means. I think if you look at it, you're still not going to trust anyone or very few tackles to go one-on-one with him. It's going to be interesting to see how teams defend this defensive line. Aaron Donald, as we know, gets double-teamed, triple-teamed a lot of times. So Von Miller's going to get a lot of 1v1s, and if not, everyone else on the D-line is going to get a lot of one-on-ones. So it's a scary thing, and the Rams just put all their chips on the table. They have pretty much no draft picks in the next draft, and it's win now for the next season or 2, maybe even 3 if they could keep some of these players around.
Yeah.
They're putting everything, and I'm on board. I think they are the best team right now. I think if you look at every position, like I said last video, look at every position, they are stacked, and you have to say that this team, you don't know where their weakness is exactly. So, what do you think about this trade, Lamar?
I think the trade fits perfectly. I mean, like I said, we're both NFC teams. Mm-hmm. So either way, if one of us makes playoffs, this might be the team that we have to go through. Yeah. It's either them or the Bucs. Mm-hmm. And they probably have the 2 best front sevens this football league has ever seen probably now.
Yeah.
Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, and then you got to air the ball out to Jalen Ramsey, Jordan Fuller, Darius Williams. Sorry. I mean, all around it's gonna be actually insane to watch them play. This is almost as good as when Jalen Ramsey got traded to the Rams.
That's true.
It's like Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, but now you add Von Miller, a Hall of Famer, a Pro Bowler, a Super Bowl MVP. It's actually insane.
I think maybe looking forward, the Rams team could have a Laker effect. And what I mean by the Laker effect is, no matter how bad this team is, you're going to LA. You're going to where the stars are at. You're going to where a lot of history is. Again, the Rams don't have as much history as the Lakers, but I'm saying I think this year and the next year they can make a lot more and bring a lot more names in. So I think it's gonna be interesting to see how this works out. And like I said, I'm all on board. I think the Rams are the best team right now.
Moving forward to more breaking news, we talk about the MVP, who I think it's Josh Allen as of now. But before that, I would hands down give it to the king himself, Derrick Henry. But moving on to that, the breaking news this morning was that he's probably gonna have season-ending foot surgery.
Yeah.
Probably a broken bone. Keep in mind, he had this, I think, the first quarter.
Yeah.
And they looked at his foot, and this man kept playing. He grinded it out. And then, what do you know? The Titans ended up winning.
Yeah.
And as we all know, he's a workhorse of this team. So I'm not sure if that plays into effect. I'm pretty sure he just got tackled wrong. I mean, he's been, having 28, 25 plus carries almost every game.
Yeah.
Since he's been the starting running back for the Titans. But with that moving forward, I still think the Colts have a shot.
I agree with you.
If I'm being honest.
I agree with you. And as you were saying, with Henry getting about 25 attempts a game, let's not forget, he's not getting tackled one-on-one. There's a whole team on him.
You saw that? I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm pretty sure you've seen that stat where he's first in rushing, right? And second in rushing is him yards after contact. It's like 700.
So it's like it just shows how his offensive line isn't the best and how people are just coming up sacking the line. But yeah, and looking at this game, speaking of the Colts, I think the Colts, this was their game to lose. You have Derrick Henry going out with an injury. You did what you needed to, and that was get up big early, force Ryan Tannehill to beat you. And I think where this game was lost, obviously by Carson Wentz, I think this loss, when you put on somebody, even though I think it's a whole team effort, I think you have to put him first. And I think that final play in the fourth quarter with about a minute and a half left, I think that it was a smarter option to get the pick six, get the ball back, rather than the safety, and then you let the Titans get the ball back. But the better one out of the three is you just throw the ball in the dirt. I don't know why he didn't throw the ball in the dirt. And again, I keep on saying this, I don't know why people around him are in his ear, and if they are, that's a scary thing to think about, that people are in his ear telling him just to make the smarter play and he's not going with it. But I think where this game is lost, and a big point that I want to look at, or I want to emphasize, is how Frank Reich stopped doing what this team is kind of their bread and butter, and it's running the ball. I think later on in the game they stopped running the ball a lot, and it just forced Carson Wentz to pass. He had over 50 attempts, which isn't something that you want when you see him.
Over 50.
Yeah, when you see him making these plays that you really don't want from your quarterback. And I saw this in the past two games as well, where against the Niners, once he had that fumble, and it was, and then the next plays he was making passes that were nearly intercepted, and you kind of felt him going back to his old ways. But Frank Reich kind of got him back together. This week, I feel like Frank Reich didn't do that. He just kept on passing the ball, and Carson Wentz was like a dog without a leash, and he's just running around everywhere, making plays, doing what he wants. So I think that's where they messed up. I think it was a game to win. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I think moving forward, the Titans are for sure in trouble without Derrick Henry. But I have yet to see Tannehill really connect with Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. But I think this game showed it. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to use that momentum going forward. But losing Derrick Henry is heavily worse, because we all know they have that Sunday night matchup in L.A. with the Rams.
Yeah,
and now I'm pretty sure you are too, but I think the Rams are the favorites in that game. Because I don't see Ryan Tannehill tossing the ball to Julio Jones. I don't see him having time against Von Miller. I mean, it's just with the Titans, I think the Colts might sneak up on them. But if I'm being honest, really honest, I think the Titans might pull away with the division.
Oh, really?
Because I think their lead,
it's too much. He is too much.
I think it's too much at this point, to be honest, to catch up.
That's true. I think it's too hard for the Colts to win 6 straight and the Titans to lose a lot of games. But One thing how you said that Ryan Tannehill was getting in sync with his with Julio Jones and AJ Brown, but also Julio Jones needs to be on the field first.
Oh no, just AJ Brown.
Yeah, but I'm saying that it sucks that Julio Jones is constantly out, and this is when you need your. This is why you brought him over in the offseason.
Yep.
Just in case anyone gets injured, you go to him. He's your go-to guy, and now he's on and off every week. It's gonna be interesting to see how this division shapes up. And I'm gonna say it again: this division is the worst in the NFL. NFC East is on the come up.
AFC East too, I thought you said.
Oh, I mean, AFC East is still worse than the NFC East. I'm just saying, we're on the come up. We're no longer the NFC East. Speaking of the NFC East, I just want to get this off before we end the video. Thank you, Nick Sirianni, for running the football. It only took your great running back to get injured and go on IR for you to understand that running the football is an option. I don't know if he was stuck on the pass option in Madden and just consistently just pass the ball over and over again. But thank you for having over 200 yards on the ground against the Lions team that everyone thought was going to beat you guys. And props to the defense for getting 6 sacks.
Shut them up real quick, including us.
Including me, yeah. I've only picked the Eagles to win 3 games this year. Just crazy. But, yeah, I'm just thankful for Sirianni to pulling his head out of his you-know-what. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how this team plays going forward against the struggling Chargers team. But anything else you want to talk about this from this week?
I think that might be a good game, if I'm being honest.
I think it could be a good game.
But I think that sums up from, we still have the trade deadline tomorrow at 12, so anything can happen till then. OBJ news.
Hopefully
Ravens
OBJ
trading
news.
for Allen Robinson is what I've heard. And the Titans signed the oldest freaking running back I've ever heard of, besides Frank Gore.
Adrian Peterson.
I don't know how he still has ACLs. But, I mean, we'll see how that works in the future of this NFL season.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to shape up to be a great one. I can tell you that.
I think this week going forward is going to be the best week of the NFL. Just looking at it on paper, there's a lot of really stacked games and interesting headlines to look forward to.
And I'm really looking forward to Thanksgiving. Even though it's the Lions and Bears, but... Not because I'm going to be eating food, alright? But the games are lining up pretty well on Thanksgiving. So that concludes this episode. Week 9, next week, prediction video should be out. I want to say around Friday or Saturday. Mm-hmm. For sure going to dive into that. We got some good games, as we always say every week. I mean, this week kind of disappointed, but I feel like week 9 will be up there. Mm-hmm. It'll for sure take a toll on the NFL. Anything you want to say?
Nothing. Just thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting. Make sure you guys keep on liking and sharing. Our subscribers are going up, but our viewers are staying the same, if not going down. And I'm just wondering if you guys don't know when we're posting. No, and I think that's where post notifications come in. You guys can click the bell in the corner, and it's gonna let you guys know when we post. I understand a lot of people that watch our videos are kind of older, not in tune. But yeah, every time we post, it's around 10 a.m. So just look forward to that. And thank you guys for continuing to support us. Again, you guys don't have to. There's a lot of things going on in the world, and you guys take the time out of your day to support us.
So thank you guys. Teaches us patience as well.
Yeah. I guess.
So that being said, thank you guys for everything.